Okay.
Okay, so I'd like to call to order the May 5th, 2021 Parks Commission meeting. We'd like to start with a roll call. Start with the Parks Commission. Ben Coronado, Parks Commission Chair, here. Mary Barber, Vice Chair.
Here.
Nicole Hicks.
Here.
Roger Henderson.
Here.
And Louise Tiemann.
Here.
Anastasia Wright.
Here.
And from City Councils, Spencer Abersold.
Here.
And from the Public Works Director, Jeff Langhelm.
Here.
And Public Works Assistant, Terry Garrison.
Here.
All right, and then if we hear from Ben, I'll make sure to acknowledge that in the meeting. Looks like we do have a couple attendees today. Looks like Edward Peterson Sr. and Marjorie as well. So we'll have some attendees, but I would like to go ahead and get started with the approval of minutes from our last April 7th meeting. If anybody had a chance to review that. I did have one comment on the Marlene's name. I think it's Drucker or Drucker instead of Drucker. That was the only thing I caught in the public comments. I think that's right. Her name is Drucker.
I'll check this
But-
spelling. Should be
Okay.
D-R-U-K-E-R.
Yeah. So if we could have that amended in the recorded minutes. I'd like to move that the amended minute, is there any other discussion on that? No, okay, I'd like to move that the amended minutes from the April 7th, 2021 Parks Commission meeting be adopted. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And any opposed? All right, April 7th, 2021 Parks Commission meeting minutes pass or approved. And going back into old business. So we're going to start with the inventory of the parks facility discussion with the update for the 2022 pros plan. So I don't know how you want to start this off. I know the inventory Luis worked very hard on, and we all, were able to input and get, information for all the different parks. But I know this also kind of plays in with the pros plan. So maybe Luis wants to start us off with kind of a general background of, kind of where this went for, some of us who are new or, didn't have as much as a hands-on role. So Luis, if you want to just kind of give us a synopsis of kind of, where we came with this and where we're at and where we are moving forward, or, what ideas you might have. Yeah, tell us what you kind of gained from this.
I'm going to maybe share my screen. I thought, hold on, I thought I had it up. Maybe I didn't. There we go. Y'all see that? See the charts? Okay. So what I'm thinking, and feel free, folks, to make some other suggestion. If we go through the charts here and we get sort of the overview look of how the inventory came out, the charts don't tell us which park got a specific response, only how many parks got a specific response. So if we want to drill down, then we'll do that in the spreadsheet side of the inventory that has the detailed answers. So for the overview, we all did our jobs. All the commissioners got out there. Look at our pretty rainbow of parks that make up our parks. And then my overall comment looking through the whole thing is how many good and very good responses the parks have. And sure, there's some room to improve on these various graphs. So each one of these graphs relate to one of the questions, in this case on the parking and access. So good signage to see the park from the street. 10 of our parks were good and 3 more were very good. So that's half, right? And a few could use some improvement, and apparently a couple were substandard. But we can use the real inventory to sort of drill down in these and get to information that's useful to the city or for maintenance or for us as we go along. but we have decent room to maneuver. We have decent ADA spaces, except in a couple of parks. The parking surfaces are in good repair. Our walkways are in good repair, with none that needed improvement. The natural paths are in pretty good shape in the parks that have natural paths, right? Not all parks do. So that section, I think generally we would look at this and say that things were pretty good, and there's some spots we could focus on in the future. In our structures, we were looking more at, are they clean and in good condition? Do they need cleaning? Is there small damage in yellow there? Major repairs needed in green? Not operational at all. Some of the things like fountains were turned off for the winter, or they don't have them at all. So again, we see that things were looking pretty good, for the bathrooms, for benches, for picnic tables, and for shelters. So for the parks that have them, those seem to be maintained pretty well. On the amenities, again, we were looking at clean to not operational. The place where some of the drinking fountains were offline. We don't have a ton of pet amenities, but the ones that we have seem to be working. So pretty good. Playgrounds, fields, and structures. It was generally winter, so I don't feel too bad if some of the parks need. Nothing's really in like new condition except for at Veterans Park, but we have some drainage issues, but most things were in pretty good shape as you look across here. What I did think about this was, well, actually, our vegetation, considering again, it was sort of the end of winter, our flowers and shrubs were generally in pretty good condition with only light weeds, in some parks. Expected for that time of year. The grassy lawns are doing okay. The native grasses are doing okay. So most things were in good condition. The damage report is the kind of thing where we don't have a good way without looking at the inventory to see what parks these comments relate to, right? So we'll come back to these a little bit, but it's always nice to see looks good and no damage noted. I wrote the picnic tables are beat up and bent up at the skate park. The chain link fencing I know is at Crescent City Park. So, there's a little work to do there. Maintenance, paths look good. Garbage cans are have some issues. The trails are in good condition. We'll go back and look at those. The pros plan updates were a little more interesting because the pros plan is this top set is requested by type. This is the community in 2016 said that they wanted the following things. And we asked, did they have them? No, they don't have them. They could have them, or it's not possible. So bike lanes kind of went across the board here. We have some, we don't have some, we could add. Sidewalks are pretty good throughout the system. Gardens and pea patches, we don't have, but we have room to add them in places. Can't do much about adding community beach. It kind of is what it is. People asked for a pool, we don't have them. They asked for more hard surfaces, and there's still lots of parks that don't have them. In some cases, that's good because they want forest parks too. People identified 4 different parks where you could add event space. So we'll go and look at those and see if that's realistic or not. But it gives us some opportunities. Display gardens was one that people wanted, and that there were 9 places that people thought we could add display gardens. So that's some good opportunities for us to look at in the future.
And just a comment on types of park facilities and specifically back to the first few that you had there, Louise. Bike lanes and sidewalks, something to use as a reference to support bike lane sidewalks or to at least connect to the pros plan is the city's 2018 non-motorized plan or active transportation plan. It is not specifically associated with the pros plan, but it has a lot of support for bike lanes and sidewalks. The transportation methods, modes that are considered active or non-motorized. So anyway, it's on city's website and it could be at least a way to support some of those.
That's great. Thank you. This group is the most requested specific park facilities. Excuse me. The people wanted spray parks or splash pools, and we have a couple scattered around. Maybe we could add some more. Public pool, it's a tough one. We'll look and see what parks we thought could add a public pool. We have a good distribution, I think, really of trails versus hard surfaces, but I'm sorry, I'm choking here for a second. Better just talk about. Bike trails, most of our parks don't accommodate bike trails because that's not the nature of the beast at, say, Ansich, right? Or the stair climb. Wider sidewalks, I think we've worked hard on, the city's worked hard on, and we'll keep going. Apparently nobody thought that we had room for indoor tennis courts, lighted outdoor sand and volleyball courts, structured playgrounds. No. Let's go see.
Louise,
Mhm.
when I did my parks, I think I may have misunderstood these categories. I like for what you're talking about right now, the most requested specific parks facilities. I thought that meant whether or not our park that we were reviewing currently had those in them.
That's true.
Is that what that meant, or did it mean something different?
It did. They wanted a spray park splash pool. Did your park have one?
Oh,
Doesn't
okay.
have one, could add it, or it's not possible. in that
Okay.
part.
That's okay. So that I did get it right then. Sorry. So the public pool, does that mean that where it says public pool, does that mean, yes, one of our parks has a public pool there, that blue line, or two?
Two do.
Well, that says it does, but I don't think we do. I mean, so I don't know if that, let's go back to the data and see what we thought about.
Okay, so maybe there's just some misinterpretation.
Yep.
Okay,
Might happen.
got it. Thank you.
The question that I had on this one and the previous one is, in the 2016 pros plan, these were requested by people, but they weren't necessarily things that we agreed that we were going to focus on.
True.
Or they were also requested by people and we built a new splash pad, that kind of thing. So I think that when we look further in the data, which I'm sure we'll do, it's like, okay, people asked for this and we gave it to them, but we're not going to give it to them at all 12 parks or all,
Sure.
That kind of thing.
No, I think that's exactly right. That we're trying to find balance throughout the city facilities for the things that the community wants, in its parks. And some things are, maybe are not realistic, right? If someone wanted, if a group got together and said we wanted a velodrome, I don't know that would be very high on the total community list, right?
Where do we put it on the list here? The velodrome.
Right? I know, but I
Velodrome.
shouldn't have said that when there's a biker in the group. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see if I would like to ask in the next pros plan, are you happy about the things that were added since the last pros plan? And one of which is the spray park at at Scansea. And the
And have
follow-up
you
question
used it?
yeah, have you used it? And is it, or is it enough, right? There is that, if it's under capacity, is it under capacity or over capacity? Right? And the different things are different considerations. Shall we move on?
Yeah, so I think just to kind of summarize, like, so we're gonna kind of review what has been asked since the 2016 pros plan, and then when we go to update the 2022 pros plan, when we start on that, we're gonna consider those additions that we've added to our inventory as far as the requested, and we're gonna, okay, so this, I guess, is to Jeff and maybe to the potential consultant or parks manager. Or, I mean, this one was a very robust public outreach and engagement. I mean, I don't know what that looks like, you know, given our current circumstances. So I don't know if we're going to kind of tail end or, you know, piggyback off some of this public engagement, or if we plan on having as robust and, you know, of a public process.
Well, I think it's going to be a different type of public process, but I think we'll still be very successful with this public process.
Okay.
Just because we can, social media and other platforms that we can use, SurveyMonkey, what have you, to help us gather data. So I'm optimistic about it.
Okay, yeah.
And
So,
I do view this as an opportunity to sell the sizzle a little bit on city parks too, of informing people of what has been built in this last 5 or 6 year period. That's what's come online. Not everybody gets everywhere, so they may or may not be aware of some of the improvements.
yeah. Okay.
Scrolling down. In adopted parks, 70% of the parks were deemed by all of us to be eligible or a good fit for an adopted park program. So that's fantastic. That's a chunk of the parks. And that there was a decent distribution of parks that would benefit from smaller groups, you know, medium-sized groups, and bigger organizations that took on the challenge of those particular parks. And that the vast majority, or a good solid chunk, was sort of the good weather season of monthly tasks versus quarterly or an annual task on these parks. Again, we'll need to go look at the raw data for which park is which, but the task ideas were varied. You know, weeding, litter removal, cleaning up tables and playground equipment, you know, general cleanup, all of it things that fit within the scheme of a adopted parks program. Come back to that. And lastly, we looked at the donation items and said, does this park have, do they need these, do they have these things present? Do they need more? Is there no capacity, or the park's just not suitable for that thing? So sort of a mix of responses here, but when it is yes and add to existing in the orange here, then that's an opportunity. So there are 7 parks that could use some park or street type benches, and 5 parks that could use the high park usage benches, some 4-foot square picnic tables. The high use picnic tables are the bigger ones. Bike racks could go into 3 different parks. Some trash receptacles of different types in different parks. Drinking fountains, and add a city for the new fountain at Crescent Park, by the way, which must have gone in about a month ago, right?
Yeah.
And a water bottle filling station could be added as well. So there's some good opportunities there if people want to make donations to the city, that to our city parks, that there are some things that could go there. And I guess, Jeff, the city has to approve those for any individual item for any park, right?
Correct.
And you might look at the raw data and say, nah, we looked at this park and it's not right for foot tables because there's some reason, right?
And I think that that's a good task for Ken Andrews and his crew to do, to review that, say yes or no.
Okay.
Jeff,
So let's-
typically, do people want to donate anything but benches, or is it mostly always benches? Because I feel like water fountains could be a highly donatable item.
Terry would probably be the best person to answer that. Terry, how much does a water drinking fountain cost? Aren't they? I mean, I know they're.
The
Yes,
water bottle fountains are about $4,500. So it's a big ticket item. Even the benches are pretty expensive. We recently had one request for a picnic table, but a lot of times once you tell them the price range, it's not what they were thinking.
Yeah, fair
So,
enough.
most of the time they want a bench with a water view, which
right in the
Doesn't
center of
everybody.
Scanty Park.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have a bench carving contest.
Go.
Let's switch over to the actual inventory. And let's see. Of course, now I'm in a different Excel program. And all your faces are in the way. I don't know how to freeze frame in this group, so we'll have to swing back and forth a little bit. Let's go over to Adopt a Park. And you can see, by the way, how the answers kind of come in. For every park, there's some answer, for the, so it can be sorted in all of these different ways. Should we look at Adopt a Park, or I sort of feel like the maintenance comments can go straight to one of your departments, Jeff, right?
Yes.
And I think weren't the Adopt a Park comments incorporated into the Adopt a Park plan already, Terry?
Yeah, I think I incorporated most
Oh,
of them.
good. Then we don't need to do this at all. But needless to say, let's just leave it at the fact that all of the sub data is here and sortable and accessible to anybody that wants to dig down and pick out, what things need to be done or what was good or whatever. So hopefully this was useful, or is useful, to the city and then to us as we do post-plan activities.
I still didn't see Grandview showing up in there.
Totally my fault. It's my
Okay.
part to do. I live literally next to the park and I never
Okay.
got over
I thought maybe it just didn't save it or something.
there. Nope, it is 100% park commissioner inability to go 100 yards into the backyard.
Hey,
Sorry.
Louise,
Louise, are you busy or something?
Yeah, and,
All right, fair
and
enough.
so parks commissioners, I am now effectively the CFO at PennNet Parks, but still working full time at the lodge while we do a transition. So I have 2 full-time jobs, but kind of fun on the PennNet side that there's lots of activity going on at PennNet, and I hope that I can serve as a bit of a bridge between PennNet and the city parks as well. Maybe not officially, but at least I will have a better grasp as we go along with what PennNet's doing.
Awesome. Congratulations. That's awesome.
hey,
Yeah.
Louise, I remember I was doing Scansy Brothers Park. I had a big comment in there about some maintenance that needed, and I don't know if it showed up. It was,
Hold on, I'm just at you. This is your row here, so let's
my row.
scoot over and see if we can find it.
Oh, there it is. Okay, got it.
And it looks like it has a little bit, I don't know what your alien symbol writing there is just a translation error as it went from one program to the other. So
Yeah,
do you remember what you
probably.
said?
I think I put the inch symbol in, or the inch, and it looked at that, so
Okay, so
4 inches.
brick path has lifted due to cedar trees. Where is this? Oh, next,
It's in the Rotary Centennial Pavilion on the south corner of it.
so that's between like the back corner towards the
Towards
house.
the house, yeah, towards the info. It's a pretty, I mean, it's still smooth. The bricks have kind of gone up nicely, but, you know, if you're an old person walking through there, and it's on a brick area that looks like a path, it's kind of between the tree and the pavilion, there's a nice brick path, and there's quite a hump in there now.
Yeah, this is a good one for, of course, operations to look
Yeah,
at.
yeah.
Options to either put sand under there, or if it's not truly an ADA path, the brick might just be removed. Otherwise, we don't want to damage the roots of the tree.
No, we don't. So that's why I wouldn't suggest dynamite taking care of that. That would be bad.
No chainsaws.
Just a couple firecrackers.
So,
And-
go ahead, Louise, sorry.
And Jeff, though, I saw it only the other day. I happened to stop at Ansich and noticed that there's a fire alarm pole that's on the side of the building towards the, on the side towards downtown. I don't know what direction that is. I guess that's
That's
east.
Yeah.
The east side of the building, but it's way up high on the wall. I'm 5'9" and couldn't reach it. And it's below the elevator shaft, so you can't reach it if you're up on top either. It seemed like a very odd place to put a fire alarm pole.
Let me talk to George about that. We would not have been able to get a permit to put that there, so I'm wondering why that's
What
there.
that is. It is that classic red, you know, small rectangle with the lights, and it says fire at the top of it. I didn't pull it because I couldn't reach it.
Let me talk to him. It might be a horn, fire alarm horn.
Oh, okay.
Let me see. Yeah, they're standard heights. They're supposed to be, I think, at 36 or 48 inches or something. So, but that's the east corner by the
east corner by the ADA elevator, but on the exterior of the building, on the driveway side.
Okay. I'll ask George about that.
Ben, what were you going to say?
Sorry, no, I was gonna let you wrap up on this one real
Okay.
quick. Go ahead.
So, any other comments here at this time, or we can move on and just use the data as we go?
Louise, you did a fantastic job on this. I think it's going to be useful to us as Parks Commission. I think it's going to be useful to the Public Works Department and, you know, the Operations Department. This is really a good way to, you know, open up and, you know, make sure that everybody's seeing the same information and stuff like that. So I really appreciate the work you put into this and everybody else who's contributed to this as well.
You're welcome, and people feel free to, if you're in a park, you know, the link is still live. You can always do an update. You don't have to do the whole thing if you want to make a comment about something that you see. Like if Roger had gone into Scansy today, you know, he could always click through. You know, you have to do that first page that says who you are and when you were there, but then just scroll down until you get to the part you want to comment on and make the comment, and then it's captured for us. So anyone can do that at any time on any part.
So if we were to do that, where does that go? Does it go to you, or does it go?
Yeah, I can see it, and it will keep filling this spreadsheet from the bottom. On this particular one, we pulled the responses out, and Jeff or Terry has sorted and, you know, sort of done some formatting to make it look pretty for tonight. But we can always extract the response data and sort it by new, right? This one is through today, you know, or the last few days, so we could grab the data just from May forward, you know, the next time we grab it. We don't have to reinvent the wheel every time.
Okay.
And that's good for the city too, that they can quickly sort by the date and find the updates.
Cool.
And ideally, I mean, I would like to see at least updates, I mean, reviews done like once a year, at least. to just keep this information fresh and, to make sure that, everybody's getting the information about the parks and, we're getting opportunities to go out there. So I don't know what that looks like as far as scheduling, but, maybe sometime around, when reappointments come up, we are able to, go back and revisit this and have everybody go out before, summer kicks in and kind of, visualize and see what all the opportunities are that we have to, make sure our parks are ready to go for the summertime and stuff like that in the peak season.
Yeah, it's also, all of us have different values around what constitutes clean or whatever, different. Nicole and I both looked at the same park, had some different answers. And I realized that Nicole was a much better park reviewer than I was on that first day, that she was much more specific and nicely detailed. So Edinburgh, Nicole. And then I hadn't done any of my other parks yet. And then I tried to follow your lead. But things that my off the cuff response was, oh, this park's been like this for a long time, it's fine. But the fact is, it kind of isn't fine. That fence was down and there were things that needed to be fixed at Crescent Park. So Nicole was right, and I was being, I don't know, too generous about that. And so I think it's good for different ones of us to assess different things.
Okay, so moving forward, Jeff, how would this incorporate into the pros plan? I know the inventory is the big portion there, and so maybe you can give us a little more background and information to see how that might work.
Yeah, absolutely. So the inventory is the first step. It's probably the biggest step in terms of takes the most time. There are a lot more steps to move into. The next two steps that I was going to suggest the Parks Commission move into is looking at goals and policies. Right now, if you were to open the pros plan, take a look at page 88. That's the start of the goals and policies in the 2016 pros plan. And levels of service standard. Now that's on page 73 of the existing pros plan. Levels of service can be a little hard to wrap your head around sometimes. It's easy to wrap your head around for an engineer for you're looking at traffic levels of service. In other words, can you get through an intersection easily or is it a long wait? We do it in seconds of delay. And so that's straightforward fairly. But for a park level of service, it's more ambiguous, it's more personal. But to set what those levels of service standards should be, because that's where we determine as a city if we are meeting, if we have appropriate level of service. Do we have enough outdoor space? Do we have enough passive use? Do we have enough active use? So, and it ties back to the goals and policies. So if you were to take a look at those two sections of the existing pros plan and see how you might think needs to be either revised, updated, improved, or enhanced in some way, I think that would be the good next step. And that's going to take a little bit of research. So I don't necessarily want to go through that here, but just definitely look at that and see what's there. So there's a lot that goes into these pros plan, and I wanted to give you an update on where we are with some of the items in the background to get this pros plan ready to go. Right now, we have we requested from RCO an extension of the pros plan, and essentially they said, well, we might be, if you get closer to the end of the pros plan adoption process and you're a month or so behind, we could consider that. But right now I asked the likelihood of getting an extension for 6 months to a year, and they said, no, not going to happen. So they were aware of the situation we're in with our vacancy of the parks manager and with COVID, of course, and they still said no. So so we can't rely on that now. We can't say that, well, maybe we'll get an extension and we won't have to have this pros plan adopted by March of 2022. So that's still our goal. And we are also moving forward with trying to get a consultant on board to help us. Terry's been working at that, finding who's out there, who's on our lists already, and how we can proceed with that. Because unfortunately, I don't know how many of you might have heard the council study session on April 29th. There was an announcement made by the mayor that the parks manager position is no longer going to be within Public Works. It's going to be removed from Public Works and put into its own program that will be reporting directly to the city administrator. So, in the interim, I'm going to be continuing to fill in the role of parks manager until we get a parks manager in here to fill that position. And then once that happens, it's going to be removed from Public Works, and the organizational chart will have them be independent. Of course, they're, in my opinion, the parks manager spends about 2/3 of their time working with Public Works, both with engineering and maintenance and operation, because those will remain in Public Works. But they spend a fair chunk of their time, maybe up to 1/3, working with community development, envisioning, planning, and permit applications. And then, of course, ignore my rounding errors, but there's still some time the parks manager will be working in leases and agreements that for folks that are using city facilities in parks right now. So there's some time spent in there. But anyway, that's honest.
Yeah, can I ask you a question on that? What's the benefit of that? I mean, just that, I mean, 1/3 of their time spent with the planning, but then they're going to be, I mean, what's the benefit of that?
Well, the benefit is that the parks are really connected to politics, to public outreach, to public interaction, and less connected to the standards that much of the utilities, the roadways use. It's more opinions. And so I think that the intent was, this is administration's decision on this, is to have it be more centrally focused and directly connected to administration and access to administration.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks. Roger, do you have a question too? Sorry, I jumped on you.
Yeah, Jeff, maybe I was misheard, but last time I thought we said a selection of a parks manager was imminent. Has it been postponed?
So, well, what happened, and that's part of the reason I was giving some background on how we got to where we are today, is that that announcement was made on the 29th. On the 30th, I believe, we reached out to the 2 candidates that had been waiting to hear back from the city to go on to their final round of interviews. And my understanding is that they both withdrew from the process. So we have nobody in the queue to interview. So we're going to start over. And I have a meeting Friday, I guess that's not tomorrow, Friday, with HR administration to talk about next steps to try and bring people in to get interviews.
Sorry, Jeff, that's frustrating.
That sucks. Ugh.
So it's a very long way to say we're trying very hard to get a consultant on board and help us finalize or bring this pros plan to you, and to have a strong leader to develop this pros plan, both for the public side and Parks Commission side. So again, I've never claimed to be someone who can do those public processes. I'm just an engineer. So we'll be bringing someone on board who has those talents and can help you with this.
So
Sorry, and thank you for your hard work.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely.
on the search for the consultant, do you need any help, Terry, or is that something that we can't touch or get involved in?
We generally pull consultants that are on our consultant roster, that are registered on the consultant roster. So we have a large pool to pick from, but we haven't really gotten started with what we need them to do yet. It can be very narrow, or it can be very large, which we don't have a great big budget for.
Yeah, that's something that Terry and I somehow need to put together is a scope for that consultant to start from, to provide us with a scope and fee. Well, I'm sorry, we need to put together the tasks so that they can prepare a scope and fee associated with that in the proposal.
And the 2016 update was done by Soundview Consultants, was that right?
No, it was done by Emily Terrell, independent. She's a planner by trade and has been a planner for multiple small jurisdictions. So, yeah.
Yeah, because I know when from the 2010 update to the 2016, I mean, that thing got sizably thicker. I mean, it went from, you know, a 60-page document to over a 100-page document. So, I mean, that one was very thorough and intricate.
Terry reminded me that the 2010 PROS plan was completed in-house by the city's planning department. There was an interest administration at the time, if you recall, that was when we were in the downturn of the economy and trying to make sure that we kept staff employed. And so we saw cost savings to have staff do that work instead of having a consultant. So yeah, that's how that one developed.
You must have a scope from the 2016 PROS plan update though, right? Or task list? You could recycle that with some edits.
Yeah, that's a starting point. Well, I think we're getting more sophisticated as we develop, so and expand. So, but yeah, starting point.
So, okay, so just to recap, managers on hold for the time being. And then as far as the PROS plan to get us ready, start reviewing the 2016 PROS plan and kind of levels of service that were outlined in that one and kind of have an idea of where we want to go forward with our levels of service.
Yes.
How do you want us to provide input on the edits to the goals and policies?
Yes. How, are you saying how do I want you to do that?
Yeah, do you want to like track changes or?
Yes, I would. That's a good way to do that individually. Yeah, that would be good. Either edit existing or create new or just delete old if you think that no longer necessary.
Okay.
Yeah. And Terry, I'm sure you have the Word version of that you could at least copy and paste the 2016 goals and policies into its own document.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd make it allow us to do strikeouts and ads and everything, make it easier.
Thank you. Too.
Good suggestion, Ryder.
And
Okay.
And everybody helped Terry by relabeling your draft of those changes as, you know, Teeman edits and Coronado edits, so that poor Terry doesn't have 6 identical versions of that document.
Well, if you use track changes in Word, it has your initials in there, however you want to set it up in Microsoft Word.
Still.
Not always. I guarantee you, when I hit save on my desktop, it blanks out my name and puts a default of author.
Yeah, yeah. So I would agree with Louise that you need to save it as the name of the document and add your name to the end of it.
Okay. Any other comments, questions?
And Jeff, when do you want that?
Yeah. So what did we set the deadline as the 26th for the previous input? So somewhere around May, the end of May, I would guess.
That'd be the 24th then. Would be the same. That's the Monday.
Yeah, 24th or 25th probably. Because let's see, we do our meeting that day.
Our meeting will be the
Our meeting will be the 2nd. Does the 24th work for you, Terry?
24th is good.
Okay, like 10 o'clock again on the 24th. Awesome. Okay, so yeah, if anybody had, and then in the next couple days or by next week, you'll have us a Word copy of the that we can edit, and then we'll send them back to you within a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Terry. Okay, so that was the old business item number 1. We can move on to old business item number 2, the creating an adopt a park program. And so as some of you know, this is kind of a pivot, I think, from the Parks Appreciation Day, or an add-on to it, I guess, as to supplement it, because of where we were with the pandemic, and, you know, we lost a bunch of volunteer hours. And so we formulated this program to help offset some of those lost volunteer hours, and I and based it off the Adopt a Road program. So Terry and Mary have worked very hard on creating a resolution to propose to City Council, and that was part of the Park Commission packet. So if everybody's had an opportunity to review that, we can kind of go through it little bit by little bit here, and just kind of see if there's any amendments that need to be making before we make a recommendation to the City Council for the resolution for adoption or recommendation. So this was all mostly boilerplate information taken, not all of it, but some of it was taken from the Adopt a Road program, like I said. So, some of the legality stuff is, boilerplate stuff. But also if Mary and Terry or Jeff want to chime in and, say what part specifically they feel really strongly about, or one way or the other. And let's see. The purposes.
Sorry, I don't raise
Go ahead,
my-
Jeff. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to let everybody know that I very much appreciate this. I know it might seem like a lot of it was just copied and pasted, but there was a lot of effort put in by Mary and Terry, and I forwarded the draft to the mayor. He was very impressed. He was very impressed. Didn't have any comments. He just said, "Wow, looks great."
Terry even got a thank you email, which
Yes.
was very appreciated.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't mean to placate it with boilerplate, but yes, you are right. It is
No.
very impressive.
And
Yeah,
Very impressive.
it was.
And
They-
also, Terry did a lot of the work on this, and we pulled a lot of the information from the inventory document to create the task list and that kind of thing. And the one thing that I think is important to call to your attention is and now I'm looking for it in here, that we're going to assign assignments. This is on page 16 of the packet. Assignments will initially be made on a first come, first served basis or lottery if duplicate park requests are received. And that's kind of the best way that we figured that we could put it to the council. And then Laura Pettit will be handling the outreach and that kind of thing. So we'll solidify that, I think, as it goes along. That may change, but probably not. First come, first serve, as long as there's no duplicates, and then a lottery if there's a duplicate request by X date type thing. But we can't put those dates in because we don't know the timing of it yet. So
And at this
So-
point, oh, go ahead.
With the volunteer safety training session, will that be like the Public Works operation guys holding that, or is that, on Parks Commissioners to go out? Is it just mostly learning about like the tools that you're gonna be using, or, about what invasive species are? Like, what does that look like?
The one we do for Adopt a Road has more safety issues because they're working alongside a road. They have to set up signs. We usually have them come into City Hall, and whoever's in charge of the program does the training. Usually somebody from operations is involved. But it's hard to get these groups to come in all at one time. So it's something we would need to figure out.
Would
Yeah.
like a training video be easier? Where it's like,
Right.
you can do like a 15-minute video and just, here, watch this if you're gonna go volunteer.
It might be, or some kind of a checklist that they need to
Yeah.
read through. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I saw like the program manager was gonna be responsible for some of it, and then was there a program assistant was responsible for some of it?
It's more about hazards and, not picking up needles or glass or large objects.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then hard hats furnished by the city. I saw
Is
hard hats.
I thought I took hard
I saw-
hats.
Okay, maybe.
The Adopt a Road has hard hats and vests. I left the vests in. It just makes the workers more visible.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, I think because that's usually what we did for the Parks Appreciation Day too.
Yeah, on the registration form, it says participants shall wear a hard hat and vest furnished by the organization.
Spencer, you got a comment?
Well, for our group on the Adopter Road, they give us the tongs that have the long extension arm. Will those be provided? Because I think those are really good ideas so that you don't pick up glass, or I mean, we'll find dirty diapers and all kinds of really just gross things that you don't, even with a hazard suit on, you don't want to get close.
Lots of tiny liquor bottles.
Yeah, that too. People dump their trash. I don't know about parks, but alongside the road, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, we should put together some type of kit like the Adopter Road bins that has trash bags and the pickers and gloves and vests.
Oh, so they just come in and pick up the big Tupperware tote and everything's in there that they need?
Yeah, they check it out a day before they're gonna do the work and then check it back in.
Yeah, that'd be good. Okay. And then I think I saw one other one where like, so it's a 2-year minimum. And then depending on the park, where it's gonna either be quarterly or yearly, or what was it? Is there a minimum volunteer hours they have to?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think we can really do that because it varies so much by park.
yeah, you're right.
I
Okay,
think that would be really challenging to do.
okay, and then on page, I guess it's page 1 of the resolution. So volunteers agree to provide volunteers to participate. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullet points down on what volunteers agree to on page 1 of the document. To provide volunteers to participate in Parks Appreciation Day in conjunction with the Parks Commission and the annual cleanup, maintenance, and projects available for assigned park. To provide volunteers to participate in Parks Appreciation Day. I think that one might need a little clarification. I don't understand that one, I think.
What page are you on?
I don't
The-
understand where you are.
Okay, so it's on page 1 of the Adopt a Park program application. It says volunteers agree to,
Okay, I'm there.
and then the 5th bullet point down,
Yeah.
it says to provide volunteers to participate in Parks Appreciation Day is where it starts.
I think if they took out the first 3 words, volunteers agree to, maybe the first 4 words, participate in Parks Appreciation Day in conjunction with the Parks Commission and annual cleanup. It's just basically saying we'd like you to.
Do Parks Appreciation Day as well as
Yeah.
the Adopt a Park.
I
That's
think so.
I think that's
Okay.
that's what we were trying to do with that one, was say that basically the 2 programs are together.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
So volunteers agree to participate in Parks Appreciation Day.
I would change the wording on that said that they would work in conjunction with the Parks Commission to plan activities for Parks Appreciation Day. I wonder if I got an old version in your packet. I don't have it in front of me,
Oh,
Okay.
but that was the gist of it.
That was the,
Yeah, that we're working to, I actually think it's, what it says right now is it says the grantee does hereby agree to provide because that's at the top. So the grantee does hereby agree to provide volunteers to participate in Parks Appreciation Day in conjunction with Parks Commission in the annual cleanup, maintenance, and projects available for assigned park.
Yeah, which is to say that they could have other projects that they're working on monthly, but on Parks
Yeah.
Appreciation Day, we've come to some conclusion about what's supposed to happen in that park on that day with the city's support. So I agree that there's a need on Parks Appreciation Day for specific tasks to be accomplished.
And I really like that you included that in there to kind of hold them accountable to show up for Parks Appreciation Day, because
Yeah.
I really like that. That was pretty good.
That's the fine print.
Yeah.
We're still trying to get that strawberry shortcake from Nicole. Put that in the minutes, Terry. No. So I guess I'd like to move for approval of the resolution.
I'll
Sure.
second that.
With the amendments.
With which amendment?
No, with
With-
edits. With
With
edits.
the edits. Oops.
Well, do we know we've got the most current version? Because Terry mentioned hers doesn't look like this.
I have to check.
And then Mary, you said the grantee agrees to. I've got volunteers agreed to.
At the, if I'm on the right page, I'm not even sure I'm in the City of Gig Harbor Adopt a Park Program Agreement. The
That's where-
grantee does hereby agree, number 4, to provide volunteers to participate in Parks Appreciation Day in conjunction with the Parks Commission in the annual cleanup, maintenance, and projects available for assigned park.
Ah,
Ben
that's
and I
where
are
the confusion was. We're on different spots.
We're in different spots.
Yeah, I'm on a different page one.
So,
If you-
Mary, you are on page 10 of the packet, and Ben was on page 14 of the packet.
Exactly.
You
And
want
so
to bring up the packet on the screen and we can all look at the same
do
file.
you want me to share?
Either way, I've got it up also. But
Yeah, go ahead, whichever.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, I'm on page 1 right now. So we wanted to go to page 10 or 14.
Go to page 10 first. And that's where the language Mary was reading from.
No, Jeff just has the Adopt a Park part. So the language I was reading from was on page 1 of the Adopt a Park, right, of the application.
I saw that. Yeah, it's the same wording. Just one's grantee, one's volunteer on page 10 and 14.
Okay, how about if I'm gonna table my motion. How about if my motion is to approve the resolution as presented with the amendment, with the edit to make the Parks Appreciation Day mentions equal or similar?
Yeah, to conform the wording of
I don't want to say conform, I just want Terry to make them equal so that the meaning is
Yeah.
equal. I
Yeah,
don't
just
want to
make the language consistent.
Same words.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. So you
Spencer,
got,
did you?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mary, you want to go ahead and make your, that was your
So I
motion?
move to approve the Adopt a Park resolution for presentation to council with the change to edit the Parks Appreciation Day mentions so they are equal.
equivalent in meaning.
Okay. And I would like to second that motion. And then is there any further discussion? Spencer, I see your hand up, or any
Well,
other?
I just want to make note that Nicole looks like she got kicked out of the group and is in the attendees. And she's got her hand up, so
Oh, no.
trying to get back in.
Thank you.
Poor
Oh, she's stuck out there.
Nicole.
She's stuck out there. Hi, Nicole, welcome back.
Sorry, I've been listening for quite a while. I got.
Thankfully, Spencer noticed. Sorry. Did you have any comments on this, Nicole? I saw your hand was, you said your hand was up.
I
but
was just
couldn't-
raising my hand to get noticed. No,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
good. Thank you.
Sorry about
Sorry it
that.
took so
When I'm
long.
taking notes, I don't see all the hands that go up when I'm looking.
No,
at them.
sorry,
Don't
my
have-
fault.
Spencer, you fulfilled your duties to the Parks Commission. Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks for noticing.
Anastasia, any comments? What do you think about all this?
I think it's really great. The document is really great.
Yeah, she did a wonderful job on this, but they both
Yeah.
did, honestly.
Amazing.
Mainly Terry.
Thank you, but it was a group effort.
Actually, I did, maybe I missed it with all the hubbub, but when will this be, it needs to be approved by council first, correct? And then,
Good segue, Nicole. I was gonna wait until we got through all the conversation. I was gonna say what the
Oh.
next steps were, but
okay,
I don't think you voted on the motion yet.
Yeah.
though.
We have not, yeah.
I was waiting for that to be voted.
Okay.
Is there any discussion that we need to be had further than making the edits consistent throughout the document? I think that was about the only one. All right, then I'm going to put the vote out there. All in favor of moving forward with the resolution of, or the recommendation of the resolution of the Adopt a Parks program to the city council, all in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? No. All right, the recommendation of the resolution so passed to move forward with council. Jeff, would you like to segue into what that means moving forward?
Sure. Thank you. Let me stop sharing my screen here. So now, usually these types of resolutions would go to the Public Works Committee for consideration. However, this Adopt a Park program has been discussed at council level for quite a few years, including even last fall when we had the joint study session between council and Parks Commission. And it's been in the budget for quite a few years, so to develop. So I have received word from city administrator. He's okay if we move it right forward to city council. It'll probably be on their June 14th city council meeting. So if we could have someone from the Parks Commission, I don't know, Mary, if that would be you to be there, since you were key in getting this moving forward, that would be great to talk when it's presented to the city council.
Yeah,
Great.
I think Mary would be a great representative if she's able to do that. If not, then we can get somebody else there. But yeah, I think Mary, and you're on, okay, it sounds like she's nodding yes. Okay.
Oh, I'm on mute, sorry.
Okay,
But I
yeah.
can do that.
Okay, yeah, June 14th, 5:30 start, but we'll be in contact, of course, before then.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay, that's it. It'll be adopted hopefully by then. Yeah.
yay,
Yay.
good work, team.
Woohoo.
Yeah, that is good work. That's some great work. Like Jeff said, I mean, this has been on the budget for a few years and talks for a while. And so, you know, to be able to move forward with something is a big accomplishment, I feel like, for us. So, oh, there's my dog, sorry.
The dog's even happy.
She's something, oh, happy. Okay, so on to, let me pull up my agenda here. The Ansich human powered boat storage. And Jeff and Terry took the opportunity to show us some of us around the kayak storage, the Ansich boathouse or storage facility the other day, and you know, to really give us a better lay of the land of what everything was in there. And Mary, myself, and Ben were able to go down there and meet them and take a closer look and see what the space really felt like and looked like, and kind of what we were working with. And so based on that, I think we were kind of working off what our submitted comments were and on what we felt like some of the lease options and lease terms might be or encompass. I think Jeff or Terry are going to compile that and move that forward to council. Do we need a consensus recommendation on that? Is that kind of where we're heading on this one?
Well, I just wanted to go through the list that was provided and just make sure that it was consistent with where, and by all means, we have multiple options to provide to administration and the Public Works Committee. I just want to make sure if there was anything that someone saw on there and there was general consensus or agreement that either add one thing or adjust language or something. I just want to make sure that we got through that. First, I was going to show the group because not everybody was going the pictures that I took while we were down there. And I apologize. I realized I didn't take a picture from looking in the back of the boat storage building out toward the door, or vice versa from the door looking back into the boat storage building. So they're fairly limited pictures, but I'll share my screen here now. So again, this is not very exciting, but let's see. I'm sure you can all see that picture. So it's just a door, but it's kind of a strange one to start with. So here's the key thing. This is the back of the building. And actually, let me swap. This is the back corner of the building behind the restrooms, and that door you saw. There's the door. And then, I don't know how I got these out of order. And then to the right of this is this walkway coming in. So that's from the person door walking in to the back of the building. The garage door is just off to the right of the frame. And then I'm going to share the overall plan view that we looked at last time. So again, there was a picture where I was standing here. There's a picture of this open area with the heater in the back. There was a picture looking right at this door, and then there's a picture looking this way. So essentially, I was standing here with my back to all of the area here. And it's a little deceiving when you go in there, just how much room is actually in the building. However, we got to make sure we think of maneuverability. There's this big empty cavern back here, and maybe that would be a good place to store paddle boards or something, but you also, paddle boards are 11 feet, 12 feet long. So you have to be able to pull them straight out and maneuver them. So is that taking up too much area in here? I don't know. We've got to lay that out. So
is that true, Jeff? Because it's that we can't store them within a certain distance from the ceiling, but there's nothing that the ceilings are moderately tall in there. I mean, they're certainly taller than 11 feet.
no, the ceilings are 10 feet tall.
Really?
Yeah.
It feels taller.
It does. If they were 12 feet tall, we're allowed to store items up against the walls themselves all the way up to the ceiling. The reason you're not allowed to store items within 2 feet of the ceiling that are for storage racks away from the walls is because when firefighters come in, they need to be able to fight a fire from the front of the building into the back. And so when they have their hoses full of water, that water needs to be able to spray up and over the racks to the back if there's a fire in the back, for example. But if you have racks that are up against the wall, there's nothing to spray up and over. So the building code actually lets you store items up to the ceiling, but no, unfortunately the ceilings are 10 feet tall. And so you couldn't fit a stand-up paddleboard on end in those areas.
But they can be angled so that it's not a flat turn. It's not like a 17-foot long boat, which can't be angled very much to make the turn.
Right. Yeah. No. But it is deceiving because you do need quite a bit of room to pull them out of their storage area and move them, depending on how you lay out the storage areas too. So, but
and I did include in my comments what length the boats are, a different craft are, so that you guys would be able to see that, right? That not just sprint boats, but like a Hiawatha type canoe or standard. There's 2 lengths of paddle boards. There's 2 lengths of surf skis. So those are the kind of craft that people actually have that they want to store.
Yeah. And so here's the actual document. Hopefully you can all see that PDF.
Yeah.
So we looked at the term that we were focusing on, and then we had each Parks Commission member provide some input on that. And there's quite a variety of options in some of these, and some of them are very consistent. Initial offering, almost everybody was consistent, need to be a lottery. Types of craft, generally consistent with stand-up paddleboards, canoes, and kayaks. I'm not sure, and I didn't look, surf ski. Louise, can you help me understand what a surf ski is?
So those look like kayaks, but they don't have an enclosed cockpit. So there's quite a few of them in the harbor.
Okay.
And the Gig Harbor Masters program operates in surf skis, not kayaks.
Okay.
they're self-bailing, you can get back into them if you fall out.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So this is the list. The only other thing that caught my eye was that I wanted to talk about specifically was locker options. There was a variety of options here to have day use, or to say there was a response to say, yes, let's provide lockers. There were a couple of areas that we could place lockers within the building. And so I'm not sure if anyone had any further input or restrictions. There was one here by Ben Lawrence, no clothes or belongings in lockers. Not sure if there was any other thoughts that I could pass along when we do this.
I was picturing that lockers would be used for things like paddle covers or boat covers, you know, that they could have a way of rolling them up and sticking them away safely, and not have them stolen. I wasn't picturing clothes particularly. I mean, maybe, but mostly I was picturing that.
I was
Okay.
thinking also about life vests and those types of things.
Yeah, we just
But-
don't want
and-
stuff molding overnight.
Right. If it's all enclosed and not ventilated, it's not going to be fun.
Well, the good thing about the building is it has a dehumidifier in it, and the type of lockers we would get wouldn't have solid steel walls. They'd have like almost like welded wire fabric
Yeah.
close together, so that hopefully there would be some sufficient ventilation.
So are you thinking that the use of the lockers would be while you have your boat out, you would kind of get a locker for a couple of hours, or would you get a locker for the same amount of time that you have your boat stored there?
I pictured it as while your boat was out. And
Okay, that's what I was thinking too.
Okay, I pictured it as you'd store your. Okay, I had the opposite, but
I was
or-
kind of thinking that too, along Jeff's line, you know, his frame of mind.
Get a locker with your spot.
So you have your kayaking gear in the locker, so it's there ready for you, kind of thing.
Okay, well, that's another option about
Yeah.
lockers for use while away or in the boat, or for use while your boat is being stored.
And people would use them for both anyway, so if they could.
Yeah.
Spencer
And
has
as
his
far
hand up.
as access, Jeff, I know that was something we touched on while we were down there the other day. As far as access in and out of that door and the garage door, I mean, that's not on us to figure out, obviously, but it was a concern of mine, obviously, about that garage door being left open.
Yeah, I'm still talking with Ken about that, but that's going to be a concern because it very well could be left open. The option that we talked about while we were on site was whether or not it could automatically close after a few minutes, and so something that we're looking into.
Spencer
And
has
this-
his hand up. He's been patient.
Yeah, I guess my question, with these lockers, I'm imagining like, if you were to want to store your life jacket and your paddles and things like that, you could just stick those into the shell of the kayak itself. Some have bladders that, you know, you can put dry storage into, or just the seat itself. But I guess my question is, what kind of security do these kayaks have? Are they in any kind of enclosed thing, or they're just on racks? So I guess maybe someone potentially could reach into someone else's kayak and grab a life jacket or a paddle if they were greedy. So anyways, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Spencer. We are looking at possibly seeing if we can find racks that allow the board or the kayak itself to be locked into the rack. But the intent was to not not have the user of the kayak or the owner of the kayak place anything in the kayak itself. It would be taken with them or put in those lockers, one or the other.
And that's also why I like the idea of a wireless keyless entry, that the people that are renting have their own code. And we do know who's going in and out. We don't know if in the scenario where the garage door's been left open and anyone could go in. But in terms of general who's going in and out, that if the renter has been assigned his or her code and has coded in, picked up their kayak, gone paddling, coded in again to drop it back out. We know what the rate of usage is. We know who's been there.
And I think that's the plan too, Louise, from what Jeff said, that is the plan for the access.
Yeah. But that helps. And the people know that we know who has come in. So that the perception of detection is the best deterrent to fraud, and that or theft of any kind of fraud. So everybody knowing that we know when they've keyed in and out, and security cameras will be the two best deterrents to people stealing stuff.
Yeah, really good points. Nicole, you had your hand up?
Yeah, so along with that, I was just, this might be an obvious thing, but with the access to the interior space, can we set it so people can't access it after, I don't know, 10 p.m. or whatever a reasonable time would be, and it's only open for a certain amount of time, not overnight?
Yeah, that we can set it like that. We need to be cautious because that's the same exact door that the canoe and kayak race team uses. And what terms their lease allows them to access that building, it might be more hours than what the public might be able to. I'd have to go back and look at their lease.
Okay.
But that's the point.
That'd be a nice cozy place for someone to sleep at night, or for,
Yeah, that's
teenagers
one
to
thing.
go and have some fun. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's been a big concern of ours because there's not a whole lot of use of the boat storage building yet, and it's not visible from the roadway. So somebody can definitely get down in there, and if they can find a way in, they've got full access.
I had something else to say also, not about security, but I'm just having a real hard time with envisioning how canoes would work in there. I mean, maybe canoes are, maybe I'm only familiar with ours, but our canoe is huge and it's heavy and it's hard to navigate. And I mean, my understanding is is it the only way to get the crafts down to the water is to go down that stairwell, or is there a separate place?
We're going to be building a float system out off the jerk. Yeah, but no, for today, yes, that's the only other way to get down is to go down the stairway or carry them down the sidewalk to Edinburgh. But we're not going to have these storage racks in place, and we're not going to start renting them until fall. And we anticipate we're going to have the community paddlers dock constructed by the same time that these storage racks are available.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm having a hard time envisioning canoes, but if you think it'll work for people and there's the space and they want to do it, I guess it's up to them.
I think the survey of really who wants to put their boat in the boathouse and what kind of boat is a very useful planning tool for all of us. If there's 30 people that want to store boats only, fantastic, plenty of room. If there's 330 people, that's a whole nother story. And what do they want to store? As Jeff, I think, mentioned last time, somebody's asked about putting your rowing shell in there, right? We don't know what people want to store today. And so I think that's extremely useful information for planning purposes.
And I know something else we touched on when we got together was, the rates, and maybe we should be charging per foot instead of by vessel. Because a tandem kayak is obviously going to be bigger than a single kayak. And are we even going to be able to handle tandem kayaks? And that should obviously be probably more than a single kayak or a race kayak. I don't know. But that was something we had discussed down there is, okay, if we're going to try a canoe, is that going to be the same price as a kayak?
Yeah, and I think
Right.
that was captured by someone about a base rate. I thought I saw, or maybe not. But yeah, I agree. You could have a base rate of just say $10 and then per foot cost above and beyond that. The calculations can be numerous of how many different variations you can have depending on the size of the boat, type of boat, whatever, peak season, off peak season. We don't want to make it a nightmare to try and calculate, or just a large confusion of the general public of how much is it going to cost for me to store my boat there. So
I thought I had in mind the per foot thing, Jeff, but I don't see it there.
And it also might be dependent, like you said, on the programming that we end up using and how versatile that is.
yeah, and right now, and that's one thing I wanted to talk about. We are working with our current finance vendor to introduce a way to make payments easy. Unfortunately, it's not going to be it's not going to be connected to, for example, how much the rate will be. It's not like we can, you put in it's not like an applicant would put in their boat type, the months that they want to use it or the quarters they want to use it, use the boat storage building and the length of their boat, and then it would spit out the number. It's not going to be that complicated or fancy. It's going to essentially be, it'll be more of along the honor system of here, submit what you're proposing. Here's your fee, and submit that with your application if you are one of the ones who at least at first wins the lottery. And then we will do spot checks to verify that that's actually the size and type of boat you have. And then also you'll pay by this with your credit card using our finance system, and you'll pay that. And then we'll have to go back and spot check that to make sure that Joe Q Public was supposed to have paid according to their application $40 a month. Well, did they pay 38 or 10? We'll have to go back and we'll be checking that. And that'll be something between the finance department and Public Works. Well, or I don't know who's going to do that now, but we'll have to go back and check that. So at least at first, it's going to be somewhat arduous.
And I think that was one of the things that we talked about when we were down at the facility too, was that the capacity issue that is tied to this with, I mean, we don't really want Terry spending half of her day in the spring collecting fees from people and chasing fees and that kind of thing. So the hope was that that system would be easier than it sounds like it is. So I think we need to make the rental agreement as easy as we can make it so that it's easier to track.
Okay. So I know a lot of this is dependent on what kind of demand we're expecting, whether that be charging, whether that be the lottery system, so some of these are dependent on that. Is that survey going to be doable before we make a proposal on this, or do we need to come up with some sort of recommendation this evening to have in front of council before this moves forward?
The rental terms aren't going to go to council, actually. The fees will, but the terms themselves won't. And the structure of the draft for the rental of the fees themselves will be handed off to administration after it comes out of Parks Commission tonight. And so we're going to take this information, these options, we're going to present to the Public Works Committee at their meeting on whatever next Tuesday is, May 11th,
Yep.
I guess. And have them review it, and again, just provide further input is all we're asking them to do. And then we'll take that further input. It'll be handed to administration to develop a final version of the terms. And then it'll be going forward to City Council for adoption of the rates themselves. I'm not sure if it's going to be coming back to the Parks Commission when we get a final draft of those terms for the rental agreement.
Okay, so do we just move forward with this as is then and say, here's our input and here's, the community input, the public input?
Yes, and we're going to, and as we proceed, as we as will be presented to the Public Works Committee, we will talk about the survey that we're going to use to help us decide what the initial layout of the facility will look like for how much people will be willing to stomach for cost, but also how many boats proportionately will be able to store in there. Because if we do a survey and the survey comes back that 5% are canoes and 80% are paddle boards and the remaining 15% are kayaks, then that's probably the direction we're gonna go when we look at the design for the storage racks.
For sure, for sure. Cool. Spencer, you got another comment?
Yeah, I got a question. What is the policy for, say, derelict boats, or someone has paid for 3 months, but now it's 5 months and they haven't paid? What does the city do with a boat that's no one's claiming or won't come and get?
Well, right now, the police department has a approach that they take for derelict boats that are out in the harbor. It's a little different jurisdiction. We don't have a municipal code section that identifies that. So I need to work with the chief to see if we need to add something to a municipal code specifically for this boat storage building. And Councilmember Abersall, you'll remember we just went through ordinance that adopted new rules for Ansage Pier and Ansage Netshed, and that was specifically adopting those rules so that we could enforce upon the users with support from the police department. And so I need to talk to Chief Busey to see if we need to do the same thing for this. We might have to have a new section of code that specifically talks about how we're going to enforce about people who are not meeting the terms of the boat storage building.
Thank you.
Good question, Spencer. Thanks for bringing that to attention.
And I agree with the people that commented in the public comments that they didn't want people to just store their boat there and then never take it out of the water, but it was intended for active use paddlers. And so I think that's part of the agreement too. It's both, have you paid your fee or not, but also, are you utilizing the boats? You know, the human powered craft access to the water. And if you're not, then your boat shouldn't be there.
But how do you enforce that, and how do you even check it? I mean, that's.
Yeah.
With that keyless system, because you know, if I've rented for 3 months for my surf ski, then I've either entered my code and gone into the building, or I haven't. You know, I'm.
So are you, Louise, are you saying that if I've paid for 6 months, but I haven't used my boat in my kayak in the first 2 months, that the city would come in and tell me that I can't have my boat there anymore, even though I've paid for it?
No, I was picturing more that I don't know what the city's answer is, but my answer would be that if you haven't utilized the boat house during your term of rental, then you will not be renewed.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Yeah, then
Spencer,
we
go
should
ahead.
make
Yep.
the rental terms or the rental length somewhat shorter, because you know, people have a lot of stuff in their garages. We all see it. And somebody think, hey, for 25 bucks, I can put my kayak down there and sign up for a year. That's cheaper than going to the mini storage. It's going to want $185 plus the first and the last month's rent, plus insurance, and I got to buy their locks.
Right.
We
Right.
And it's
probably should keep it short until we really see that, yeah, everybody's honestly using like it's intended to be used frequently.
and I agree that
Make it
paddling.
short, you've got a
powered
capacity issue again with staff.
That's going to be tough to go down and compare the code usage to the people that are renting it and to see how often they're accessing the door.
But that should
Yeah.
all be happening on an app on the city's computer.
That would be nice. There's no Wi-Fi down there. There's no internet connection, and the lock is accessible only when you plug a computer into it.
Yeah. Okay, so there might be issues there. Nicole, go ahead.
I'm going to go against popular opinion on this. I just have a hard time with policing people to tell them they're not taking their kayak out enough. I mean,
Yeah.
if someone's dealing with cancer in hospital, I mean, if they've paid, they've paid. And if I'm conflicted by that. I would be really uncomfortable with trying to tell people that if their kayak stored there, they have to be taking it out X amount of times to continue to use it. I mean, it's storage, right? With the intent, we want people to be able to use it, but I would not support that.
Well, we just don't want it to turn into mini storage cheap.
Right.
That's the, I
Right.
think that's the flip side.
And I think it
I think-
depends on demand. If, like I said, if there's only 30 people and there's plenty of room for 30 boats, great.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how long people have paddled. If there's 300 people that want in and someone is just storing their boat and not paddling, then that there are people that want to paddle and have their boat on the water. That's all I was trying to get to. And the public comment had very much wanted that too.
Okay. Well, I think it's a real slippery slope. If we were to put a policy out like that, I think we're going to be kind of, I don't know. I guess it's not my decision, but I would caution.
I think we're signing up for a lot more hours work to trace that and
Yeah.
to try and police that. But I mean,
think
maybe it's
it'll-
not that much. Maybe it's, 1 or 2 times a year. I don't know. I
It'll
think
rub a
finding
lot
that-
of people. It'll rub a lot of people the wrong way.
Yeah, I think finding that balance of term length, I think, is the key. Is like whether that be quarterly or 6 month. But I think a year is a long time to commit for somebody where they just get exclusive use for an entire year, especially if we're only talking about, 20 or 30 spots. I think quarterly, it gives enough time for somebody to get back in the lottery rotation to hopefully get it next summer, because that's essentially what everybody's going to want it for, is the summertime. So,
Right.
I think keeping it a close window is, gets that people shuffling through there. And I don't even know how I feel about renewals without, unless there's no demand, I don't know if renewal should even be a consideration. But I know there is a couple other comments. I know Anastasia had her hand up. Let me bump up to her because I want to hear from her for sure.
Yeah, I agree with Nicole and Ben that it will be very difficult to police people how often they use their kayak. I mean, even the codes that you use to enter the door, maybe someone will just go and put their code in a couple of times and not use their kayak or go. I mean, it will be very difficult. And also, I think that it will be fairer for most people if there is a limit to how much one can use the facility, the place to rent their kayak or whatever, so that more people have the opportunity to rent the space.
I think that's probably the best solution to somebody just parking stuff there because they've lost room in their garage and they don't want to pay mini storage. If you're in there for 4 months and then there's another lottery, whatever, it's 4 months or 6 months, we can decide on that. Folks might find that too annoying that we're just going to use it for storage. So the people that are actively using it probably jump at the opportunity. I think that's the best way to do it. Clearly, the city doesn't have staff to check how long people use it or how often, and then what's how often. Is it once every quarter, once every week, once every day? I just think something that rotates quicker, 4 months, maybe 5, I don't know, might make more sense.
So kind of
Give
picking
more
up
people
on,
the opportunity.
yeah, absolutely. So picking up on that idea that you have said, Roger, and I've heard repeated a couple of times by other Parks Commission members, what if one of the options would be to, if, as Louisa said, if its initial offering is 300 people that want to fit into a 30 boat storage building facility, if it's that great of demand, what if we say every year on January 1st, we're going to be reissuing lottery tickets, and they're renewing that. And so you can't be guaranteed that you're always going to have your boat in there. That might be one way to have the people that will be most likely to use their boats because they have the most interest in continuing to put their name or number in for their lottery.
Well, and I had sort of thought if we did, pending demand, right? If the higher the demand, the quicker the lottery should go. But if we did that April to June, the weather's getting better, people are back out on the water. Did another one July to September, which is peak season here. So that's hot demand for people to be able to access the water. But October to December and January to March, it's raining and cold and not nearly as much paddling going on. So maybe there's a 6-month October to March rental period, and it's okay if people are storing their boats, because it's not good paddle weather anyway. You know,
I mean, you could almost just bookend the bad weather seasons and just attach it to the, you know, it's like, oh, we're doing the first 6 months, the last 6 months. And it's
Yep,
like,
that'd
which
be
one do
okay
you want?
too.
Yeah.
Get a little bit of both, and then the boathouse is emptied, you know, for a few days and cleaned, you know, every January or something. You know, part of our New Year's task is to get the boathouse cleaned out and repaired, and there's no boats in there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Touch ups.
I'll add that to just some general terms and general thoughts on a new column. I'll be adding those.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like we were kind of split on the policing thing. So I mean, maybe you want to put it in there as like a split, you know, but I don't feel like we had consensus on that. So
Right.
I would like it to say that it was, you know, brought up and discussed, but I you know, I don't know where we're at on as far as we're in favor or not of that.
Well, and if there's not an easy way to determine who's been in or out of the boathouse, then there's not an easy way, and I dropped my policing strategy. I was picturing more of the lock systems that are used by Airbnb hosts, where it all shows up on the laptop of who's in and who's out. If that's not possible because it can't be wirelessly managed, then it can't be wirelessly managed, and I changed my recommendation. I kind of like now, I'm leaning, Ben, towards yours of doing 6-month January to end of June and July to December. 2 lotteries a year doesn't overburden the city too much, I hope. Not like a monthly or quarterly lottery, that's a lot of work. You know, and then people get another shot at it.
I guess I would like to ask that Terry and Jeff look at the needs and the discussion that we've had and come back with a recommendation on, based on the capacity and who can do what and that kind of thing on the city level, the best recommendation for how we move forward on this, if it even needs to come back to us. I think that from what Jeff said, it's going to move on from here and we may not see it again.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. So
to do it right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this isn't a standard procedure that we do, and in talking to administration, that they want to be able to develop this and put it forward in the way that they see fit. So I can't guarantee that it's even going to come back to the Parks Commission.
Yeah.
But we do have
And
the
that's
opportunity to speak at the Public Works Committee meeting if we so feel.
Yes. And for pricing at the city council meeting when it's presented to city council.
Okay. Nicole, you got another comment?
Do we get
Yeah,
to
my last thing, and then I'm done with this.
Okay.
So I think we also would need to consider, if we were to do this month-to-month thing, those people who are on month-to-month and decide in October they're just gonna be done and because back then in
You're breaking up pretty good, Nicole.
or would they just lose their, sorry, would they just lose their option and go back into can you guys hear me?
Yeah, most of what you
Sorry.
said was broken up. I think you fell into a space-time warp.
Sorry about that. Okay, so just people who are month to month, can they stop in the wintertime and then come back in the spring when the person in the lottery?
I think the best way to circumvent that is just do the 6 month instead of monthly rentals.
Okay, like what, yeah,
Because yeah, you're right. They're like, oh, I only want to rent it for 5 months out of the year, April through October or whatever. And then,
Yeah, the good months.
yeah, exactly. You and everybody else.
Yeah.
right.
And then we have an issue trying to fill it and, during the off season. And it's like, I'd rather just have it full and, have people committed to 6 months.
I
Okay,
like the 6-month one.
Okay.
yeah, that's good.
Maybe what I'll do is that I'll present both options, but say that is it fair to say the preference or the majority prefers the 6 months, January to June, July to December?
Yes, with a lottery for every subsequent one, so there's no renewals that somebody can't just stay there for the next 10 years.
Right. No automatic renewals. Yeah.
And then as far as you said, the price adjustment, the pricing will be set by council or administration, right?
Correct. Well, it'll be proposed by administration, adopted by city council.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, I think we've been able to flesh out some stuff. Does anybody else have any other? Talk about the lockers, the locks. User provided is,
Seems to be the preference.
yeah.
Yeah, we can always bolt cut if we need to.
That's what I was gonna say. I thought I put down no user provided locks because I thought that was the issue, was we wanted to be able to access those boats if we needed to. But you're saying we bolt cut if we needed to do that, Jeff?
Yes.
Okay.
Chief Busey bolt cuts if he needs to. Okay. So Jeff, you'll forward on our comments. Do we need a recommendation at this point or are we good? I mean, you took down some of our in-meeting comments as well?
Yes, I did. And I don't think so. I don't think I need a formal motion by the Parks Commission because it's just a variety of options that's being presented. I think I've captured them. So I will put it together and please take a look at the distribution or that the agenda item for the Public Works Committee meeting on May 11th. That meeting agenda will be set by end of the day Friday, this Friday. So that's actually that's what I'm doing tomorrow.
Okay, and that meeting packet will have our comments in it then.
It will take this table that you see here today and will be expanded and I'll add those comments. Yes.
Okay. And Spencer, you got another comment?
Well, I'm just wondering in this lease agreement, if there's going to be any kind of language that takes the responsibility off the city for damage to the kayak. If someone has left their kayak down there and, Public Works or Police Department has to come and remove it and they put a scratch into it.
Yeah.
If I'm that kayaker owner and I spent $1,400 on that kayak, it's a plastic kayak, yeah, but it's got a nice big scratch on it, and I'm a jerk, I'm going to go after the city, whether I like that kayak or not. They just gave me a really good excuse to cause a stir. And how does that kayak get transported? Do we have a vehicle that has a kayak rack? Does it go in the back of a work truck? Does it go in the police car's hood? Are there 2 staff members that are going to carry it? Are they going to have how does that kayak get touched? Because you damage someone's kayak and they can go after you. So that's my concern. We need to have some kind of coverage.
Yeah. And it will say that in there that the city's not going to be responsible for having to remove damage to your kayak if it has to be removed. It's not our issue. But yeah, it's going to be thrown in the back of a work truck and brought up to the city shop. I'm sure there's going to be a stack of kayaks up there, and then we'll have to talk to the chief about what we do with them if nobody claims them, and then we put them out to auction. So be on the lookout for surplus kayaks in year 2.
Woohoo!
So how about if someone else damages another person's kayak in there? Like I'm taking my kayak off and I bump someone else's kayak.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point.
The city will be released from that.
In theory, we have security cameras in there to capture that. But if we start to hear a lot of those issues, that's where we go back and look at those security cameras. And it's about the best we can do. But no, there will be terms again that say we're held harmless against any damage to your kayak, whether it's from city city employees or from other users of the facility.
It is my fond hope, though perhaps it's naive, that the Ansich Boathouse does as well as the Gig Harbor Clean Kayak Race team has done in this regard, with zero theft, zero damage. Yeah, knock on all the wood you can find, because it's been remarkable, really remarkable over many years now, 20 years of no thefts and no damage, with boats that are sitting out in a public park and on the dock for years. So
Yeah.
I hope that the paddle community is holding the paddle community carefully in its arms.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so, Louis.
Yeah, you have to protect it. You have to cover yourself for the bad things that happen or can happen. Totally,
But Louis, no one's charging down there for that storage, correct? That's all free?
for Gig Harbor Canoe and Kayak,
Yeah,
correct.
because I mean, once you start paying, perception changes.
Yeah, that's true. But you would think that the open boats sitting there would be an attractive theft target, and they just haven't been.
Yeah, it's open as opposed to a closed garage where nobody's looking.
Yeah.
Roger, yep.
Just a quick question, kind of procedural. If any of us from the Parks Commission want to speak at the Public Works Committee meeting about this, do we identify ourselves just as general John Q. Public or Mary Jane Public, or are we Park Commission members? Can we identify as that?
I think you can identify as a Parks Commission member, but you're speaking on behalf on your own.
Right, okay. We don't represent the park. Any one of us doesn't represent it, but we would note that we're on the Parks Commission. Is okay?
Yes, because the Parks Commission didn't take a formal action to support one way or another. Yeah.
All right, good. Just needed to know that.
All right, so I think we're wrapping up with the old business item number 3.
And we do have a public comment on this item. Do you want to go ahead and take that now?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I should have done that earlier. Pull that up. So we did have.
She's attending
still
the
here?
meeting. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, if she wants to come on in and go ahead and give her a public comment. Otherwise, I'd be happy to read it. If she's not comfortable. That was Marjorie, if I'm not mistaken.
Can you hear us, Marjorie? Looks like you are muted. Are you able to unmute, Marjorie? If not, we'll go ahead and read your comment. You should be able to click on the little microphone that has a cross across it. Is that how you should? Or click on the 3 dots?
Yeah, what platform she's on.
No, I'm not sure. Okay,
I'll be happy to read it.
okay.
Marjorie, I'm gonna go ahead and read your public comment now. So this is regarding the kayak storage at Ansich Park. It says, hello, Miss Garrison. My husband and I are seniors, late 60s. I have always enjoyed kayaking. Unfortunately, as we've aged, our opportunities to hoist our kayaks to our car and then walk them to the water are diminishing. We both have various progressive forms of arthritis. Mine is in my neck and hip, and my husband's clavicles and knees are shot. We have special paddles built for arthritic kayakers. We love the fresh air and exercise we get when paddling. We are hopeful when the public storage mechanics are discussed that there will be an opportunity for Gig Harbor seniors who still enjoy kayaking in our beautiful harbor to be considered for priority storage. We have 2 small, short kayaks. We're embarrassed we can't lift them like we did even 5 years ago. Please let me know when public input will be opened to discuss public storage. I am signed up for alerts from the city regarding this issue. Best regards, Marjorie Van Nice, 7638 53rd Place, and then her phone number. Marjorie, certainly appreciate the time you've taken to submit public comment. We always appreciate that. And there she is, Marjorie.
We can see you now.
She's still muted.
You're still muted though. not working.
Technology is so challenging. Sometimes it just doesn't work.
Marjorie, I'll say that if you can please also keep on your calendar the May 11th Public Works Committee meeting. That begins at 3 o'clock. This topic will be presented at that Public Works Committee meeting, and you can provide your comments to the Public Works Committee either via email or via this same platform. You're welcome.
Thank you for your time, Marjorie, and we appreciate your comments. Okay. Thank you for that reminder, Terry. And okay, moving on to new business. I know we do have another person in the comments I think was looking to talk with us, but we'll go ahead on to new business, the election of officers of the chair and vice chair. So every year we go and elect a new chair and vice chair for the year. And so that's a commission vote. And so we're just going to have nominations for the chair initially, and then we'll go and do nominations of the vice chair. So if you feel like you or someone else would be a good fit for either one of those roles, feel free to make a motion to recommend someone on the commission. We can all recommend Ben if we want to, since he's not here, and he can be chair when he comes back. Or
I nominate Ben C.
Okay. Okay, and can I second that? I can second that.
You can't second your own nomination.
Okay,
I'll
Roger
second
does.
it.
Okay, Ben C as chair, vice chair.
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 Chair. All right.
You're
Is
doing a fine
there-
job, Ben.
Yes, I'm getting better. Definitely a learning curve when it transitioned to Zoom too. So, okay. So is there any discussion on that? Is there any, do we vote on that and then see if there's any, no.
No,
Is
you
there
have
any
to
other
see if there's any other
nominations?
nominations.
Okay. All in favor in voting Ben C as Parks Commission Chair for another year, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
Oh,
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. I hope to
Congratulations.
do good service again. And
Now
thank
that
you for
you've gotten
working-
good at Zoom, we need to leave you in place.
Getting better, yeah. So I hope to, improve still and, work with the administration and all my fellow colleagues. So thank you. And then any nominations for vice chair moving forward then? I know there's definitely a handful of you that would be excellent, and I would like to nominate Mary Barber as vice chair of the Parks Commission. Once again, and continue that going forward for the time being. If there's a second on that.
I'll second that nomination.
Sure. And all in favor of voting Mary Barber as vice chair for the Parks Commission for 2021?
Woohoo!
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Nope. All right, Mary, congratulations, vice chair. Ben Coronado, chair. Okay, and then jumping into the Parks update report with Mr. Langhelm.
I don't have anything to add to the park updates. I looked through those this afternoon, and Terry has captured all of my updates, and I think she has them italicized for the updates that are new, so that you can
That
see.
is so handy to have them italicized.
Yeah,
Yeah, it makes our time.
yeah, quick overview. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, but I don't have anything to add. I already gave you an update on the parks manager position and the status, so.
When do we change Austin Estuary Park to Austin Park on the?
Well, the name is official. If you're asking about the signs, Terry and the mayor.
No, in the update.
Oh, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. Might as well. I asked about the signs last time, so yeah, it's in the process.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks good.
Nicole?
I just had a question and an observation that I wanted to bring up. One of them is about Grandview Forest. I was there the other day, and I've noticed that there's tucked back in the trees, there's like a tent type tarp structure compound looking thing. I didn't investigate, but I don't know if someone's living back there or what, if the city's
Yes.
aware of that. Okay,
Yes.
okay,
That should be reported to the police. They can address that. But if you want to send an email to Terry with an approximate location where if you can describe where that is, she can forward that off to the police department.
okay.
He's lived there for like 7 years, 8 years at least.
Okay.
Well, if
And
it's
there have been welfare checks that we know of, or?
Yep. Periodically, yes.
yeah,
Okay.
the police still work to try and move him along out of our public park. But he should
Okay.
have, he's not been living there consistently because we have had that cleared multiple times throughout the years.
That's true. too.
Yeah. I think I've seen things in the past and it kind of, yeah, comes and goes. Okay, so I just wanted to bring that to the attention, but it sounds like it's well known of.
Because he has a family here in the harbor, and so he comes and goes between his family's home and Grand Forest.
Okay. All right. And then my other question was, I just wanted some clarification. I know we talked about this before, but I've noticed down at Crescent Creek, especially, and that's the park I go to most often. I've noticed in the lower field, between the parking lot and the rentable structure, I've seen a lot of what look to be like classes happening. I've seen like exercise, yoga, I've seen dog training, I've seen people recently have been doing like paddling, boating practice. And I don't know, I know we have the special event permit stuff that's needed for certain things, but, and we talked about this at some point, is that, I mean, I know it's a public park and it should be used, but then there's the thing if people are running classes and profiting from it, where are we on that? And people's rights to be able to do that, and then how that balances with public access for others who just go down to the park on an evening to run around, you know?
Yeah, so Nicole, you've been on the Parks Commission long enough to recall that we went through a lengthy process of talking about private use of public parks.
Right.
And that topic was set aside when we adopted it, well, maybe it was updated, but adopted an updated special event code to try and address that. There is a section of the code, and I'm looking for it right now. Section 5.28.030 of the municipal code that talks about when a special event permit is required.
Mm-hmm.
And it essentially says that if you, it has a definition earlier in that section of code of what a special event means. But then it says under the required section, it says you need essentially, I'm paraphrasing here, you need a special event permit if your event meets the standards set forth in the definition, and or if it has more than 30 people. Additionally, if the event includes a need for tents, amplified sound, stages, generators, vendor booths, involves public promotion of the event or collection of money, special event permit is required. So essentially, if someone's is earning money off of it, then the way we've been interpreting it is, or if you're promoting it, then you need a special event, and they can get one, and it's right in here in the permit fees. For profit is $500.
So I just read that document today, and I just never, I mean, I'm not going to say anything to anybody or question it. And I've just noticed that it'd be nice to know whether if there's a requirement for them to post their, like, hey, we're allowed to be here, or post their permit. I know at the structure itself, the city puts a sheet up saying who's got it reserved and when, or they used to, or you used to. And the public should be able to use the park and for these events too, I understand, but it makes it hard when these things are happening, whether if they're not permitted, that's a tiny parking lot. People come and to whatever these events are, and it fills the entire spot. Nobody else can park there, and nobody else can use it. I've got my crazy kids running amok through whatever they're doing, and I feel bad, but then should I allow them to do that because it's not permitted?
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to revisit or.
No, that's a good point. I think that we have the opportunity, though I think it's going before council. Terry, is that update to the special event permit code that Josh Stecker is putting forward? Is that on the May 10th agenda? I think it is.
It is.
Yeah.
It has to have a second reading though too, so.
Right. So I think that would be a good opportunity to present that, whether council member Abersald proceeds forward with this, but also it might be good to attend the first reading of the ordinance for amending the special events and request something like that too, that in the special event, they have to post that they have identified themselves as receiving a special event. Print it out, put it on a stake next to your group or what have you. But then also the question of enforcement. I mean, is someone going to go through and be checking this more routinely? It would be hard for the general public to know whether or not, even with there was a posting, if they wanted to take the action of how to respond to someone who doesn't have a special event permit. But whether it's city officials through the parks operations or the police, we might need to suggest another way to enforce those that are using the parks without special events, but should be requiring them or should be obtaining them.
Well, and I know about one of those, which is the dragon boat land practice. So I have no idea whether or not they had a permit, and didn't organize it. I'm not part of that management group of dragon boating, but they needed 4 Saturday morning practices for 1 hour. They restricted registration to, I think, 24 people because they also had some coaches that were helping to make the training happen. And those practices, I think, were from 9 to 10 o'clock on the 4 Saturdays in April. And then, and they had intended to go back on the water, but then there was the rollback and what to do with vaccinations and all of that. So they did land training instead for April, and are, as of this last Saturday, are back on the water itself, so out of the park. But they did, as Jeff read the standard, it sounds like they were trying to stay under the permit necessity as well.
Yeah.
But I don't know about any of the other groups that might have been, dog training or whatever that were doing that. I can only speak to that particularly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a huge personal problem with it, but it's just, I've seen it more and more with just different things, and especially down at that park a lot in that space. And it might just be a matter of just public education. And I just think a lot of people just don't know. And there really aren't too many other resources or places for people to go to do these things. But I just wanted to throw all that out there.
No, that's a very good point. And I think it's worth having a broader discussion about that topic, because it's never been fully resolved, private use of public.
Right.
And I think, again, the special event code addresses it to some extent, if you're and through the advertising provisions, and if you're collecting money, but and requiring a special event for for-profit companies. But if we need to refine, enhance, or enforce, then we need to start talking about how we're going to do that.
Thanks, Nicola. Spencer, did I see your hand up as well?
You did, but they're most likely questions I probably need to talk to the city attorney about.
Oh, Jeff, with the Edinburgh brick house rehabilitation, or the parking lot that it was associated with that, is there a roundabout that goes along with that or something? There was something weird about that, right?
Yeah, the Edinburgh brick house rehabilitation won't be able to receive its certificate of occupancy until the required parking stalls associated with the building are constructed. Those parking stalls are going to be constructed as part of the roundabout project at Harborview Stinson. However, right now we have on our schedule the construction of the roundabout to occur in 2022, because we are going to be doing a bunch of utility relocates. One of them, we unanticipated sewer utility relocate this summer or later this fall. And so we don't think at this point we can get through the final design, the bidding and awarding of the project and utility relocates in time to start the roundabout construction before November. And I guarantee you, we do not want to start ripping up the roadway in November.
Gotcha. So, and that's not gonna be, so the certificate of occupancy is not gonna be like, okay, that's not open to the public, but the boat or the Eden Boathouse people can still use it, right? It's gonna be, nobody can use it.
It's going to be nobody can use it unless we get approval to have a temporary certificate of occupancy with conditions such as only people that are from the boat shop are going to use second floor or something. But that's not even on the table at this point.
Thank you. Any other parks updates or questions for Jeff? If not, we're gonna go ahead and move on.
You're on mute, Ben.
Yep, I'm trying to flip flop back and forth screen. Sorry, didn't like the space bar. It was changing my pages.
So we're moving
Okay,
on
so-
to committee reports.
Yep, committee reports. Roger, did the Leaf Line have their meeting, or was that the last one that you went
So that
participated
was the
in?
last one I went to, but I was gonna ask Terry and Jeff. April 9th, I sent you that email. Remember at the last meeting, I talked about Leaf Line was looking for support from the city of Gig Harbor to the Washington congressional delegation prioritizing trails during their budget cycle. And I sent you an email with a link that the mayor could have signed if he wants. Did that not ever go through? Because I sent it to you and Jeff.
I don't know if that was signed by the mayor. Let
Okay.
me follow up on that.
Yeah, would you, I mean, it's OBE now because the deadline was April 23rd. It's just, I also know that every time I send a mail to either one of you, I get another email a day or two later that says, oh, you need to verify this. And you click it and you said, okay, now you've been verified. Is that standard city practice?
That is
Whether
the,
that's holding everything up, whether you don't get it, and if I don't catch that email, it never goes through.
yeah, there's a lot of security upgrades that have been implemented in the past 6-8 months, and that is one of them. So it wants to make sure that people sending us emails are not robots.
Yeah,
That is one of the criteria, but it eventually does go through. If you do click the confirmation, it does go through.
okay.
Unless, well, then I guess if you're sending it to that email that replies back that you need to confirm, it'll go through. But if you are using my old email address, I found this out. Unfortunately, if you're using my old email address, which is last name, first initial, or not just mine, but anybody, last name, first initial at cityofgigharbor.net, and they have a new email address. Not everybody in the city is using or has a new email address, but if you're emailing from a Gmail account to someone who has a new email and you use their old email, it will not go through. And I've been told by our IT department, that's just the way it is. You're not going to get emails from people who from Google Gmail that and others that send to an old email address. It's supposed to forward it automatically, but the security settings are set so high. There's a lot of things that don't work in Google on our system anymore because IT says they're not secure enough.
I sent
Are
it
we
to
supposed
your
to be
address.
using like tgarrison@gigharborwa.gov then?
Yes, that's that's the, but not everybody in the city, not everybody in Public Works has that email address format. But anybody who does have that email address format, I would strongly encourage you to use that format.
So are you Jay Langholm?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I did not know about this.
Yeah. Many people didn't know about this.
I sent it to both. I use Microsoft Outlook, and so I saw two Jeff Langhelms. I said, I'm going to do both. Terry, I've only got one for you, and that is T Garrison at gigharborwag.gov.
That's the new one. And you should be in my safe list now.
Yeah, I'm sure I am.
So once I accept you, when you send it to the new email, you should be able to get back and
All
forth.
right. Well, okay. So I don't know what can be done about this. It's just, I think we missed it. So I got to explain to Claire.
Shoot. Yeah.
Yeah, shoot.
Well, thanks for the update.
Yeah.
I would think that you could still send something to the congressional delegation after her deadline.
You could try. You have the email, so
Yeah.
you have to click on the link, and it was a pretty easy sign. It's not like you had to print it out and everything, but
But I mean, they could copy the same thing and send it still.
yeah. Possibly. I don't know when the delegation needed this input. Clearly, Leafline wanted it by April 23rd. So, okay.
Gotcha. Okay, and then as far as the pros plan subcommittee update, I would say those people specifically should be looking at the goals and policies work or literature from the 2016 pros plan update. Because I have a feeling those should be coming online shortly with the consultant, assuming that that consultant is hired in the next few weeks or month. So anybody on that subcommittee should be looking at that goals and policies shortly here. Any other committee reports? I think that's kind of it for now. Yes, Mary.
I don't have a committee report, but I have a suggestion for committees going forward, because we're starting to have more committees, and I feel like a lot of times our committees are giving a report, but it doesn't need an action item. And I'd like to suggest that when that happens, or that before each of the Parks Commission meetings, that each committee send a report to Terry by a date that she predetermines. It's probably in this case that June or May 24th. Send a report that would be submitted to the Parks Commission as part of the packet. And then if there's no action item needed at the Parks Commission meeting, that report is just kind of accepted. So we can spend more of our time on action items that we need to really discuss and provide input on instead of the reports. That's just a suggestion that I wanted to offer.
I think given our limited amount of time every month, I think that's a great suggestion. It's like, yeah, we got 2 or 3 hours every month to get together and discuss these. And then, anything I feel like that we could, do homework wise prior to would be beneficial to the commission. So I think that's a great idea. Does anybody else have any opinions on that?
And they'd still be part of public record, and they'd still be part of the commission's history and that kind of thing,
But it also gives people an idea of what's coming forward too, to, have a better discussion on those topics and make sure they have a better formulated input too.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So moving forward, if anybody has committee reports to submit as part of the following meeting, the upcoming meeting, please submit your comments to Terry by, I think the Monday, is it the Monday prior to the meeting, Terry?
Monday, the week prior to.
Okay, so Monday, the week prior to, not the Monday, not 2 days before. Yeah, that would be great. To be able to have that as part of the meeting packet and, better prepare for the meetings. Okay, so moving on, public comment. In our participants list is an Eagle Scout named Edward Peterson. he has proposed to the city to be able to do his project in Veterans Memorial Park, and he's here to talk to us more about his project and what he has in mind and kind of how that fits in line with what's already there and the master plan and how that might look and some of his skills. And so we're gonna have an opportunity to meet with Edward Peterson and his father, maybe. Yep. Okay, so Edward, thank you for joining our meeting and thank you for sticking around through the meeting. So if you want to take a minute and introduce yourself and where you're at with your scout project, and we're happy to listen to you and see and work with you and see what we can do to help you achieve your goal there.
All right, thank you. My name is Edward Pearson. I am a scout, part of 2217 here in Gig Harbor, and I want to discuss about my idea for Veterans Park, because I'm working on my Eco project right now, and I have a small slide presentation I want to show you y'all.
Are you able to share your screen, or is he able to share his screen, or do you have that?
Yes, sir, I can share my screen.
Okay, yeah, if you want to go ahead and share your slide, we'd be happy to see it.
All right.
And then we might have some questions for you after you're all done there.
Okay, so what is an Eagle project? Well, some of you know what it is, and some of you don't know what it is. So an Eagle project is an opportunity to do a project management, leadership communication that fills a need within the community. So like if like a life scout, that's who I am, wants to do something for city of Gig Harbor, it's like, hey, I want to like build a bench or build a picnic table at like McCord Field or in a McCord Field forest area, or somewhere in the public area. So in my troop, we have this thing called the 5 W's and 1 H of planning something like activity or something like that. So the first one is why I'm doing this, so I can honor the veterans, what they done to this country, the sacrifices they have, the sacrifices they had to do, and to protect this country, and opportunity and a bit and sorry. So this. I just want to build this veteran, and I want to add on the Veterans Park where the American flagpole's at, like put the Armed Forces flagpole is at right now, and just want to honor the veterans themselves as well. When I'm going to finish this, I want to finish my Eagle project before Veterans Day, November 11th. So it will be an appropriate time to present it during Veterans Day. Where I want to do my project at, I want to do it at Veterans Park. It's close by Uptown, and I went there and saw a American flag, and I said, you know what, I should do something to add on that American flag where it's at in Veterans Park. If the city of Gig Harbor supports my idea, I will ask nonprofit organization to help me fundraise so I can start gather all the materials for my Eagle project and build it at Veterans Park. What I'm doing, I'm just going to add on add on where the American flagpole's at, to put the armed forces around it, or at the side be around it, like the Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Air Force, Army, Space Force, and that type. And how? Well, there's a couple steps I need to do before starting my project. The first one is I need permission and permit from the city of Gig Harbor if they like my idea or not. And additionally, I need to determine if the city has any resources available to support my project. Then after that, I will ask nonprofit organizations or other and ask them, I say, hey, I want to build my, hey, I'm a life scout working on my eco project and I need to fundraise. Can you help support my project? And after that, after fundraising, I need to I'm going to buy the materials, collect them and start building them and ask other scouts and adults to help me build my project. Project timeline. So in May, I will propose my idea to the city of Gig Harbor. June, July, that's when I go into fundraise. August, collect the materials for my project / fundraising still. September and October, build my Eagle project, and 11th November, I'm going to present my Eagle project and turn the finished product to the city. So this is my project ideas. So this is at Veterans Park. Imagine those. Imagine those American flags. The American flags are like armed forces. Besides the American flagpole, the tallest one. Just imagine those are armed forces. So this is my first idea. Just put the armed forces around the American flagpole, and here's another one that just in case if the first one doesn't work, just put them on the side, close by the American flagpole on the right side. I got my backup one just in case those two doesn't work. I just put them where the side. I'm just going to put them on the side, on each side when people are walking on the sidewalk area. And yeah, that's what I'm do. Yeah.
Edward, good job, man.
Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah.
Do you mind maybe you and your father fielding a couple of questions, if that's all right?
Yeah, that's all right. So
Sure. And we have a councilman here from the city council as well, Councilman Eversole. It looks like he has his hand up first, so you want to go ahead and jump in there.
Edward, I think this is a great idea, though I want to get your feet grounded in reality as far as your timeline goes. Permitting and things like that don't happen quickly within the city of Gig Harbor. And so if you were looking to get this done by November 11th of this year, I would say that that's probably not going to happen realistically. So I would expand out your timeline so you don't disappoint yourself. As far as the city providing resources or money, that's probably not going to happen. I won't say it won't happen, but we get a lot of requests for these kind of things, and we can't, of course, honor them. Otherwise, we'd have to do them all, and that's just not within the realm of realistic. But that's not to say that nonprofits won't jump at the chance to support you. I'd be happy to help you along the way with this if you want to. I can, you can find my email on the website, or my phone number is 253-225-1195. If you want to give me a call, we can talk further offline. But this looks like a great idea, but there's just some more hurdles that you're going to need to go through that I haven't heard you talk about. And so I just want to have you have a good opportunity to succeed, but I want you to be able to look at this in a realistic manner and proceed. That's your father there, so I'm sure he's going to help you out with that as well. But yeah, so good on you for doing this. But let's do it smart and make your work successful.
And how close are you to 18?
I'm 15 right now, so I have to.
Oh, good. Okay, you've got plenty of time then.
Yes, ma'am.
Send the mom up 2 Eagle Scouts.
Roger has a question for you as well, Mr. Roger Henderson.
Yeah, Edward, thank you. What are there, 7 service flags you're thinking of? I see 7: Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, Space Force. I guess that's kind of new. Coast Guard, and then an Air National Guard.
I just want to put down the Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Army, Air Force, Space Force, and Coast Guard. So 7 armed forces flags.
Oh, okay, 7 or 6.
think I saw 6 in
6.
the presentation, 6.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, good, thanks.
And are you familiar with the permitting process at all, Edward? Is that something that you were going to look to do on your own behalf, or do you have someone to help propose some of those permits?
No, sir, I don't know how to, I don't know what's the process of the permit thing.
Okay, okay.
Since this is a donation, would essentially be a donation to a city park, Edward, I think that we can work with Terry Garrison here to at least inquire on what permits would be needed for your options. I'm glad you had some options. Some of those options might be more permittable, more likely to succeed in permitting than others. We also have some operational discussions that need to take place about those locations that we need to talk with our parks or our public works superintendent about. So I'm glad you have options. That's always good to come to the table with options. So I think that if you can provide your presentation to Terry Garrison, and we can, and then I think I saw Chair Coronado also said he would be willing to work with you in addition to Council Member Aversol. I think we can provide the support at least by providing a little bit of time and helping you find some of those answers to the questions. If permits are needed, which they are likely needed to some extent, I don't know if it's just, there's 2 types of permits that could be needed for this. One is a land use permit that actually authorizes this type of use in a city park. And then there's also possibly a building permit that's needed because of the height of the structure. So at least we can find out what land use permits and or building permits are required, and then you can work to review those applications and see what is necessary to submit those. So some applications, even for building permits, might be fairly easy because the manufacturer might be able to provide a lot of information required for the building permit. So like Councilmember Aversol said, though, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, a lot of boxes that need to be checked in order to make sure that we are meeting all those requirements.
So Edward, what this means is that you're going to be thoroughly educated in a good scouting way in how city government works. and that will be a useful lesson for much of your future. And good luck.
And I'm just going to throw in this, you're going to find moments where you're going to feel disappointed in this, but don't give up. Just,
right.
It's life has its hurdles and you have to overcome them.
And I do want to say that there's reasons for all these. It might seem overwhelming, and I know that you've heard a lot of it's going to be tough. There are reasons for all these permits. A lot of them are safety related, or a lot of them are related to what the community wants their facilities to look like. If we were to just let anything go in anywhere, then the look of the community might not meet what the community wants. So that's one of the biggest reasons for land use permits. And then the building permits are typically safety required. So anyway, there's justification for those permits, but there can be a lot to do.
Okay, thank you, sir, for letting me know the things that I need to know of.
So Edward, what would you be willing to get together with Councilman Ebersol and myself and maybe discuss in further detail at the location on some of your ideas? Would that be something you're available to do?
Yes, sir. I want to do that, sir.
Sure. So Spencer, if you and I want to get together or contact and figure out what your availability is, and we'll find a date and talk with Edward here, and we'll get all a date, and maybe his dad will come down and
Mr. Edwards or Mr. Peterson, can we get a phone number for you? So
there we go.
Absolutely. And I do appreciate everyone's time tonight. So a good number for me is my cell is going to be area code 210-240-1027. And I'll have Edward there also email his initial concept to Terry so that you all can at least have a thought of what his ideas are.
Okay, let me read that back to you. 210-240-1027. Correct. Thank you. I'll send you a text right now.
And then, shoot, what was I gonna say? Lost it. Maybe we can get a better idea of what kind of budget and skill set and stuff like that to see where we're going and you know, see if this, you know, we can pull this off and make this successful. But like Councilman Ebersol say, I would keep a realistic timeline there because these things do take some time. So we're happy to, you know, lend a hand, lend an ear, and you know, especially to help a young man in his journey and becoming a man, and you know, all that entails. So, you know. And if you guys do want to review this meeting in particular, it should be posted on a few days on the city website. If you want to go back or use it as part of his documentation or something like that, that's available to the public as well. So if you want to go back and get a copy of it or something to that effect. So yeah, we appreciate your time. We'll be in contact with you and to get a better idea of what this might look like going forward and to hopefully get you squared away with your Eagle Scout project. So that's exciting, Edward. Good job.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Edward or his father? No? All right. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, you guys. Good job.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch, okay?
Yes.
Spencer, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I have I guess a comment. I think that in the future, if we have public comment, maybe we should do that in the beginning so that we don't have to have people waiting through the whole meeting to talk. I think it's we're very lucky that they were gracious enough to stay and have themselves be heard. But I think in the public interest, it's best to have public comment as soon as possible, in my opinion. That's just me.
It's a good idea.
Something I've tried to do in the past. I think this one, yeah, you got my me. So yes, I agree. Thank you for your time, you guys. Appreciate you sticking around through this thing. All right. Anything else for the good of the order? Let's
Move
see.
to adjourn.
Is there any other public comment? I don't see any. I think that was it. Was it just the one? Oh, there had been some talk about, yeah, not formal public comment, about recycling down at the parks. So just keep that in mind. Recycling. Okay. Something that'll probably be coming forward in the coming months. Okay, I saw a motion to adjourn, seconded. All in favor? Aye. All right, you guys have a great evening. I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All
Bye.
right. Thank you, guys.
One, thank you.
I love your braids, Nicole.
Thanks.